navigate the live Zoom hybrid meetings. We're going to give just a couple more minutes for Commissioner Norfleet and Commissioner Coleman to get in. I got Commissioner Coleman there popped up. Again, you are welcome to attend Newberry City Commission meetings now live or Zoom in and participate that way. Okay. And I've got, and Amy, can we get Commissioner Farnsworth a set of earphones? They're brand new in a bag. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order because I believe that Commissioner Norfleet will be able to join us here momentarily. So with that, we'll call this regular City Commission meeting September 14th to order. We are being recorded live now. I have a couple of items to change on the agenda before I ask for a vote. We need to swap items 10 and 11 around. So the establishing electric rates will become item 11. And establishing water rates will become item 10. For our new commissioner, the script that we have to read per state law has us voting on everything in a specific order. So we just need to make sure that we get that right. We also need to add item 20 to tonight's agenda, which is appointing a representative to the North Central Florida Regional Planning Council. Those are the two changes that I have to the published agenda. Does the commission have any further additions, comments, questions to the published agenda? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda with those changes.
So moved.
I have a motion from Commissioner Coleman, a second from Commissioner Norfleet. Any questions or comments on the motion on the floor? Hearing none, Dallas, if you put our phone number up. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are at the beginning of our regularly scheduled commission meeting. We have a motion properly seconded on the floor to approve the agenda with two changes. We're rearranging two items. Published item 10 is becoming 11, 11 is becoming 10, and we're adding item 20. If there's something that you think was supposed to be on the agenda tonight or you have issues with the agenda tonight, now would be the appropriate time for you to call and address the commission with those concerns. All you need to do so is to dial the phone number that is on your screen. Once we get you into the meeting, all you need to do is click that little hand symbol at the bottom of your screen. That'll let us know that you'd like to address the commission. We'll make sure you have the opportunity to do so. Dallas, do we have anybody with their hand raised? Okay, bring us back to the commission for a roll call vote. Commissioner Coleman.
Aye.
Commissioner Clark.
Aye.
Commissioner Farnsworth.
Aye.
Commissioner Martin.
Aye.
And Commissioner Norfleet. Motion passes unanimously. Tonight we have a special surprise for the commission for our invocation. We actually have three of our pastors here representing a portion of the Newberry Ministerial Association. They've been doing some wonderful work in town. I hope you've been following them. They organized the prayer walk in the middle of the shutdown to pray for our community. They have other things that they have in the works to bring to the community. It's been a pleasure to work with the churches here in Newberry and the work that you guys are doing to lead the way, to show how we can come together. It truly is heartwarming. So thank you for being here tonight, and please share with the commission a little bit about what you guys have been working on.
Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Pastor Armin Lowry, and I'm here to share with you all what the Newberry Ministerial Association is been doing over the last several months. I'm not going to give you the whole spill, but we do have an event coming up on the 27th at 6 p.m., I believe it is, gentlemen. And it's called Prayer on the Square. Prayer on the Square. And we will be meeting at the Town Center to have a time of prayer. We're inviting pastors and the community to come out during that time. we have some additional events that are going to be coming up. They will be forthwith announced at some later date. But in the meantime, prayer in the square on the 27th, 6 p.m. Everybody come, wear PPE, and also be prepared for social distancing, but we will be praying for this whole city. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor Larry. And I believe they have a challenge for the community to fill the square. So we want to make sure that we stand with them who are standing together, and we are going to fill that square up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners, and thank you for this opportunity to come. I will say our invocation tonight, and just want to say that we believe in prayer and we believe in unity. And the scripture is clear: when a couple, 2 or 3 agree and more, that God will answer our prayers. So we're just praying for our community, for our nation, and for our world. Yep.
Just as a point of etiquette, if you're zooming in, if you feel more comfortable bowing your head, that's perfectly fine. If you're live, if you please would rise for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Now,
Unless you're driving, please don't bow your head. Let's pray. Father, thank you so much for this opportunity to gather this evening. Lord, I thank you for our city. I thank you, Lord, that this is a community that honors you and keeps you first. And I just pray, Lord, that we will lead the way, Lord, in coming together in unity, Lord, that we will be one nation under God, that together right here in our hometown, we can stand for truth, we can stand for justice, we can stand for love, and we can stand for your values, Lord. And I just pray that you would help us to do that. Thank you for these leaders that you have ordained and appointed to lead our community. They are here by your hand, and we are thankful for them. And I just pray tonight that you just give them wisdom, that you'd give them understanding, that you would just give them guidance as they guide us. Father, we thank you for your blessing. We continue to pray for this pandemic to leave us, Lord. We continue to pray for healing and health in our land, Lord, starting here in our community, in our county. Father, we pray for healing in Jesus' name. We also pray, Lord, for unity, that we can come together and serve you together and love one another as you love us. So we thank you for all of these things. We bless this meeting and this gathering tonight. In the mighty name of Jesus, we pray these things. Amen. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
thank you, Pastor Gary, for that invocation. And might I add how nice it is to say the pledge with a group of people. I've been saying it by myself in here for the last few months, and it's nice to have a chorus. All right, that brings us tonight to public announcements. So this is the time this commission values public announcement, the ability to come and address the commission early on in the meeting, not make you wait all the way until the end. So we set aside a time period for 2-minute announcements. If you'd like to address the commission on something that's a little more in-depth, a little more controversial, we set aside another period at the end of the meeting that's a 5-minute announcement time. So we'll start with public that's in the chambers. If you have anything you'd want to come up and let the commission know about, now would be a great time. If you're watching or zooming in at home, go ahead and dial that phone number now and let us get you into the meeting and we'll get you queued up.
Hey there,
Pastor Rocky.
Rocky McKinley, private citizen of Blueberry. Never been more grateful with 20 agenda items. So.
Timed it perfectly.
I do appreciate your time. I just wanted to make a quick announcement, just a reminder to our commission, our mayor, and any of our city staff that would like to be involved too. This Sunday at Destiny Community Church, we're celebrating 14 years of ministry in Newberry. 2 services, 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. And for any of our city staff, commissioners, Mr. Mayor, if y'all would just let me know which service you're going to be attending, I would love to make mention of you being there. And I just wanted to personally invite each and every one of you. Again, 14 years celebrating Destiny Community Church in Newberry. So thank you guys for your time.
That's wonderful. Put me down for the 11 o'clock slot. I'll get in that one. Other public announcements. Come on down. Good evening, Miss Lisa. How are you? Is it green light? And go ahead and read your name into the record for us. If you I know I said hello, that threw you off. Is there green light on your name?
Now it is.
There we go.
I just wanted to let you know that Main Street is been plugging away, even though we haven't been as visible as we'd like to be with this pandemic. We are at this point planning to do the Fall Festival, which will be November 21st. And if we've done our calculations right, it will be like last year, the same day as the Lions Rodeo. We're just going to do 9 to 5, so there'll be some time in between for people just to regroup. And so if it all, I mean, I anticipate they're doing it still this year.
I have not heard from the Lions Club, but I think yes. I'll connect with them and engage. We'll make sure it happens.
So that
I
is our
don't-
intent. Like I said, we're making it 9 to 5, so we'll not have so much overlap time. I think we've had a couple awkward years where we tried to go later. We'll be a little bit scaled down in recognition of the social distancing. So we will not have the bounce houses, but we'll try to really beef it up and have some other things for the kids. Just bounce houses won't be there this year. We still will have live music. We may not have quite as many dancers, but we're going to try to limit it. Probably have about 100 vendors, keep it to that size. We will be encouraging all of our vendors to have hand sanitizer, be encouraging social distancing, and if they need to do some interactions close to people. Encourage
Wonderful. I think it worked wonderful last year to have the rodeo and the festival the same day. I know we were all kind of curious about how that was going to play out, but I got rave reviews. People went to the festival, they went out to the rodeo, they did both. They had a great time. So hopefully that will work out as well
Right, and I
again.
think by us cutting ours back, we tried to extend ours because we have a beer garden and stuff like that, and it just didn't mesh as well as we would hope.
Well, and feel free if you'll push me on it, remind me. I will make sure I'm advertising it and getting some student volunteers to help out this year.
Wonderful.
Make sure
We'll
we
need
get
'em.
everything set up. All right.
All right.
Commissioner Norfleet, have you heard anything about the rodeo? Okay. It may be one of the, no one has been as visible in the past few months as we wished. And so some things may slip through the cracks, but we'll see if we can get an update.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. Other public comments from the chamber? Dallas, do we have anyone with their hand raised in the waiting room?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. There's a person on the phone whose phone number ends in 607. If you press *6, you can unmute yourself and make a comment.
Good evening.
Hello,
You're
this
in the
is, thank you. This is Marlon Day, the Newberry Branch Library, the Alachua County Library District. I was calling to let you know that September is library card sign-up month. The library is open for curbside service, and we are giving out library cards if you'd like to get one. We're open 9:30 to 5, Monday through Saturday.
Thank you, Marlon, doing some great work over there at the library, pandemic or not. Well done. Dallas, do we have anybody else with their hand raised?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor.
All right, then take us back to the commission. We'll move on to presentations. The first presentation tonight is from Ms. Joy Glanzer, Alachua County Commission District 3 candidate. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, commissioners, Mr. Manager, citizens. I'm Joy Glanzer, and I'm running for Alachua County Commission District 3 seat. I had to say, in the last 3 months running for commission and all my travels, this is my most favorite place to land. My familiar faces, my friends, thank you so much for all your support. It's been palpable. Having served with you, I've experienced what you're experiencing. We have a deaf ear at the county commission. That's the initial reason I jumped into the race in the first place. Our small municipalities have no representation at the county. Not only that, but I'm sure you're aware that coming up November 3rd, there's a charter review amendment, growth management amendment on the ballot that's going to take away your ability to even do your own zoning or planning for growth and development. This overreach has become unpalatable, unsustainable, and even maybe unconstitutional. I'm not really sure about that, but I'm done with it. So I want to speak up and speak out for our communities. Can you imagine what it'll be like when you come to the county commission and there'll be somebody there sitting that's been where you've sat and knows what you know and will actually listen to you? I can't wait for that moment, and I promise you I'll be there for you. I support home rule, and I will defend it at every opportunity. Each of our small municipalities has unique issues, challenges, and needs. The role of the county government is to fulfill administrative mandates of the state, like running the jail, doing, um, police protection, public safety. Does not include micromanaging our small communities. That's got to stop as well. Over the years, I've owned several businesses and currently have the real estate company across the street. So I know what it is to make payroll, do budgets, and develop a strategy to grow and prosper. I think I'm preaching to the choir. You've heard all this before. Thank you for putting up with me. But in a nutshell, you know that I'm going to listen to you. I'm going to be there. I'm a bridge builder. And through all the challenges that we faced together here on this dais, whether we agreed or didn't agree, we always respected each other. And now's the time we need to join together no matter what and get this seat. It's so important to not only Newberry, but all the small municipalities in Alachua County. So I urge you on November 4th to vote Joy, choose Joy for Alachua County Commission District 3 seat. I've got signs on my front porch across the street. If anybody wants any, just go and pick some up. And I appreciate your time tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Candidate Glanz, before you go too far away, could you, is your microphone still green there? If someone wanted to reach out and ask you questions, do you have a Facebook site or website
Absolutely.
that you want to?
Yes, thank you. I have on my website is joy4alachua.com. That's JOYFOR Alachua.com. My phone number is 352-665-3534, or you can see me on Facebook, Joy for Alachua County Commission. And that's great. I will talk to anybody, anytime. Call me, and I mean it. Thank you.
Are there any questions for candidate Joy Glanz before she leaves?
I will get your sign to you tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, candidate Joy Glanzer. We appreciate you. Next up tonight, we have Federal Railroad Administration's Quiet Zone application process. I want to personally thank Mr. Wolf for doing the legwork on this. I did not believe this was real. I did not believe this was possible. Thought this was a dream. And here you are presenting to us tonight that dreams can come true. So tell us a little bit about quiet zone applications.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners. I'm Rick Wolf, Code Enforcement Officer with the Planning and Economic Development Department. And I'm here to give you an overview of the Federal Railroad Administration Quiet Zone application process. A little bit of history. And in your agenda packet, you got a copy of the staff report. I believe that I'm going to kind of highlight or summarize. A little bit of history back in the 1880s when we had the phosphate boom is when the railroad business got started in Newberry with Henry Plant, extended his Savannah, Florida and Western Railroad to High Springs and then to Archer. And Newberry became a railroad town and a trade center. Shortly thereafter, the Cummer Lumber Company and Phosphate Company completed their Jacksonville to Southwestern Railroad, also from Jacksonville to Newberry, and further advanced railroading in the town of Newberry. And so a little bit of national history, railroads typically have had horns in advance of grade crossings to warn of oncoming trains. And so you see that nearly all the states enacted laws saying you had to have train whistles or train horns. And what happened was that some communities didn't want to have that, and a few states came up with a restriction on train horns. But in the 1980s, if we fast forward about 100 years from when the trains were established, there was a significant number of increase of train traffic, cars and trains collided. And this was particularly in the state of Florida. And so in the late 1980s, the Federal Railroad Administration overturned the Florida's horn ban and said they could no longer ban horns for trains and required them to be sounded under what was known as Emergency Order 15. Then the U.S. Congress directed the Federal Railroad Administration to issue federal regulations requiring trains to sound horns at all public crossings. However, they said you could perhaps come up with a provision for a quiet zone if you could do that without compromising safety. So if you could have the next slide, please. The Federal Railroad Administration train horn rule went into effect in June of 2005, and this required locomotive engineers to sound their horn for a minimum of 15 seconds and a maximum of 20 seconds at every public grade crossing. Whenever feasible, the train horns have to blow 2 long beeps, 1 short beep, and then a long beep that must be sounded as the locomotive goes through the intersection. And the minimum volume in a locomotive horn is 96 decibels or a maximum of 110 decibels. If we can have, and try that little. So here's an example. So, Mr. Mayor, one of your questions in your email to staff was, are we allowed to do this? Is this even possible? And only local governments or public agencies may establish a quiet zone. It can't be done by a homeowners association or a private entity. There must be a form of local government. And a quiet zone must be at least a half mile in length. It must be containing 1 or more public highway rail grade crossings. And every public grade crossing in a quiet zone must be equipped with standard and conventional automatic warning devices. Communities that have the option to come up with a partial quiet zone, which would limit the horns only between 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. And other risk reductions, safety measures are typically required by the Federal Railroad Administration. So local governments must work with the railroad that owns the track and the appropriate state transportation authority, in our case, the CSX, Florida Northern, and Florida DOT, to convene a diagnostic team to assess the risk of collisions. It must work with the appropriate public authority that does law enforcement, in our case, currently the Alachua County Sheriff's Office. And an objective determination is made as to where and what type of safety engineering improvements are necessary in order to effectively reduce the risk associated with silencing horns. This could include studying highway traffic volumes, train volumes, the accident history, physical characteristics of the crossing, and include any existing safety measures that are there. So in establishing a quiet zone, examples of additional safety measures could be, a couple of examples would be putting medians, separating lanes where they couldn't cross the lanes to go around, putting gates on all 4 quadrants, so again, no access, converting a 2-way street to a 1-way street, permanent closure of the crossing, or any other approved variation that is acceptable to the FRA. The local government must certify to the FRA all required risk reduction measures have been installed and are operational before a quiet zone can be approved. So how many crossings do we have? According to the inventory of the Federal Railroad Administration, it says we have 9. Well, I went out and I could only find 7, but we actually do have 9, and 2 of them have been abandoned spurs. The examples, here are the 9 shown on the board with a map. First one is Southwest 32nd Avenue, Southwest 15th Avenue, the North Main Street crossing, which is 250th Street, Northwest 252nd Street, Newberry Road, Northwest 1st Avenue, and Hodge Road, which is Northwest 6th Avenue by the Martin Luther King Recreation Center. Notice on that one, if you go back, there's no gates or lights. There's only what they call crossbucks, which is the X sign. And then the 2 that have been, the spur that's been abandoned is Northwest 255th Street, which was a dirt road. You can still see remnants of the track there, but it's that spur has been closed off. and then finally Northwest 257th Street. According to the Federal Railroad Administration, our principal warning devices for these intersections include 3 that have gates, 3 that have flashing lights, and 3 that have crosswalks. But that information is outdated. That's something that we probably need to get with the CSX and get updated so that the Federal Railroad Administration inventory is current. In terms of accidents over the last 3 years, the highway rail incidents that have occurred, there's been 7 accidents or incidents, 4 on private rail crossings, 3 on public crossings, 1 fatality on the private crossings, and all of these have occurred in the city of Alachua or Hawthorne. There has been no incidents reported to the city of Newberry. As far as the legal considerations are concerned, well, let me go back to the cost considerations. The federal statutes did not provide for funding for establishment of a quiet zone. The public authority seeking this zone shall be prepared to finance installation of both supplemental measures for safety and alternative safety measures. According to the FRA, costs may vary from $30,000 per crossing to up to $1 million, depending on the number of crossings and the type of safety improvements that they will require. As far as legal considerations, the courts will ultimately decide who is at fault and who would be liable for a collision at grade crossings located within a quiet zone. Based on the facts of each case, as a collision may have been caused by factors other than the absence of the train horn. So the FRA's rule was intended to remove failure to sound the horn as a cause of action in any lawsuits involving collisions that may occur at grade crossings within duly established quiet zones. So in the state of Florida, there's currently 35 quiet zones established in the state, mainly in the heavily populated areas of South Florida. The absence of a routine train horn sounding definitely increases the risk of a crossing at a collision at an intersection. Local governments desiring to establish a quiet zone will be required to mitigate these additional risks. And this process is done with an evaluation called the Quiet Zone Risk Index, which must be less than the nationwide significant risk threshold or the risk index with horns. So in summary, this is a process through the Federal Railroad Administration by which local governments can create a quiet zone to reduce train horn noise. This process does require extensive mitigation at all rail crossings at the cost of the local government and to ensure additional risk that possibly are there will be eliminated. As far as history of complaints, in my 2.5 years here, I have not received any train noise complaints or train horn complaints prior to this current inquiry. And this item has been placed on your agenda for discussion to see if the City Commission has interest in pursuing a quiet zone application at this time. Be happy to answer any questions.
You turn your microphone off, reduce the back feed we have, just press that button. It says push there. It's kind of a tough button. So just so the commission is aware, this conversation didn't actually begin too long ago. We received a resident that reached out to me. I believe she has more than one child in the house. And this has been a problem for her. I think what happened was that the trains were trying to catch up. They've been shut down for a while and they ran a few and they were coming through all within a 2-week period. And so short on top of each other, you know, her family was awoken in the middle of the night. And my response to her has been the same response to every resident in the last 10 years who said that, hey guys, it's a safety issue. Trains have to do that. There's not a whole lot we can do. So this for me is a lesson in why it's good to continue asking the questions, because she took that and then she went and did her own research and she called me back again and said, no, there are these things called quiet zones. And I said, ma'am, I've never heard of that before. So we'll find out. So I sent it on to the manager who engaged Rick. And turns out there is this process that we can do. So, my direction to staff was to do enough preliminary research to inform the commission about whether this was possible and whether or not we could make it enough so that we could make an informed decision about whether or not we want to pursue this. So that's kind of how we got here tonight. So it is right now one resident who has leveled the complaint. I certainly have received lots of complaints in the last 10 years. But the reason you probably haven't is because I've told everybody there's nothing we can do about it. So they've all been thoroughly trained and there's nothing that we can do about it. I guess that my first thought is I know it has to be half a mile long. Did the crossings that already have these mitigating factors, does that equal half a mile long? Could we get it just through the urban core? Or in order to do this, would the commission have to look at expending funds for all 7 of those?
Well, they're fairly close together. So if you can hear it from one, you're probably going to hear it.
Oh, you got to turn your mic back on, and I'll turn mine off.
The minimum is a half a mile, but it can be a mile. From it could be from 30th Avenue to the south to the Newberry Road or to the Main Street location. That would include more than a mile. It would require mitigation far beyond what we currently have in our inventory of gates and lights and some of these mitigating factors that they recommend and would require through this diagnostic team evaluation.
And this would in essence be the upgrade that we just did to First Street about 4 or 5 years ago, which if my memory serves was about $300,000. No. Hang on one second. Let me bring the manager and y'all are giving me 2 different head nods.
Turn your mic off. Mr. Mayor, while it's my understanding that the upgrades we did to First and that you might see at State Road 26 are perfectly fine for regular traffic with horns blowing. But if we were going to make this a no horn zone, quiet zone, that even those are inadequate. They want gates, 4 gates, no way to get around them in any way, shape, or form. So I don't think any of the existing gates in Newberry would be adequate. All would have to be upgraded, is my understanding of how it would work.
And as my memory of the upgrade, the cost of what we got over here on First was about $300,000. And you're saying that we'd have to go even more than that per crossing in order to go after this. Okay. Is that your understanding too, Ms. Wolf?
Yes.
Okay. So it's possible at somewhere in about $4 million probably to do all of the crossings in town. So it's probably not probable.
Depending on the number of crossings you choose, what the evaluation includes.
Okay. Hang on. Is his not on or is mine not on? Oh. Oh, I'm sorry, Jamie. See, I'm so busy looking at my live people, I forgot to look at my virtual folks. Mr. Jones.
Mr. Mayor, I'd also like to add that the 5 sets of gates that we have now, even after your initial installation cost, there's an annual maintenance fee that we pay. The 5 gates that we have now that wouldn't be sufficient, we already pay almost $8,300 per year is our portion of the maintenance on the 5 gates we have now.
Okay, so unless a commissioner wants to override me here, I'm going to say thank you for the presentation. We appreciate the information. I think that's enough for everybody to go back and ponder on. And I'll certainly reach out to the resident and have this conversation with her. And again, unless someone wants to jump in here and advocate, I'll just say we're going to move right along. Thank you for the work, Mr. Wolf. We appreciate you. Okay, that's going to take us to our consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as published? I have a motion from Commissioner Clark.
Second.
A second from Commissioner Farnsworth. All those in favor? I'm sorry, roll call vote. Commissioner Coleman?
Aye.
Aye. Commissioner Clark?
Aye.
Commissioner Farnsworth?
Aye.
Commissioner Martin?
Aye.
Commissioner Norfleet. Motion passes unanimously. And that will take us to public hearing and some ordinances. We have the discussion and adoption with changes if the commission so chooses for the proposed operating millage rate for the fiscal year 2020-21, notice of proposed property taxes, and proposed operating millage. So we're going to begin with item 8. Hang on, let me organize all my paperwork up here. Okay, and just for the audience at home, we are closely regulated by the state when it comes to adopting a budget. So Dallas, because he is the kind of employee who is always prepared, has prepared a script for us to make sure we don't miss anything and that we hit all points in the order in which we have to hit them. And that's what we're going to be engaged in here for the next few minutes is adopting this budget. So I'll try to give as plenty of advance notice for when we get to the points where we need to make a decision at this point before we move on. If there's a decision to be made, a change to be made to the proposed budget in front of you. So the City of Newberry Commission hereby convenes a public hearing on the City of Newberry's fiscal year 2020-21 tentative millage and tentative budget as required by Florida statutes, chapters 129 and 200, as advertised in the Truth in Millage notices. If anyone in our live audience, our virtual audience, is here for the purpose of contesting their tax assessment, a petition for adjustment with the Value Adjustment Board should have been filed no later than 5 p.m. last Tuesday, September 8, 2020. The petition forms were available in the property appraiser's office. This evening, we will take a number of actions related to the adoption of millage and budgets. The final public hearing on these matters will be held on Monday, September 28, 2020 at 7 p.m. in this same location. Newberry City Hall Commission chambers are in a virtual meeting. I encourage you, if you have not already done so, to get a copy of the agenda so that you may more easily follow the proceedings this evening. Citizen comments will be taken following the overview of the proposed budget by the city manager and director of finance and administration. The city attorney will now present an overview of the Truth in Millage legislation, followed by the city manager and director of finance and administration's explanations of the tentative and rollback millage rates. Mr. Attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In 1980, the Florida legislature adopted what is known as the Truth in Millage legislation, or TRIM as it's called. The goal of the legislation was to ensure that taxpayers were advised of the public hearings, the local taxing authorities' budgets, and millage rates are considered and adopted. Each year, the property appraiser completes an assessment of the value of all property and certifies to each taxing authority the taxable value of the property within its jurisdiction. Each taxing authority then notifies the property appraiser of its proposed millage rate, its rollback rate, and the date, time, and place of the public hearing to consider the proposed millage rate and the proposed budget. Once the property appraiser receives the information, he sends a notice by first-class mail to every taxpayer on the assessment roll. The notice contains the information from the taxing authorities as to the proposed millage rate and the time and place of the public hearing. The notice sent to taxpayers is called the TRIM notice. The TRIM notice lists what the taxes were for the prior year, what the taxes will be if the proposed budget changes are made, and what the taxes will be if no budget changes are made. This information is listed for each taxing authority. The notice also lists all voted levies for debt service. The purpose of the TRIM notice is to provide taxpayers with sufficient basic information to enable them to participate in the public hearing process.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The fiscal year 2021 tentative budget has been prepared amid the unprecedented COVID-19 pandemic. We're still very much involved in response to this emergency. We're working hard to continue providing services to our citizens while at the same time keeping our community and staff safe. We are not letting our guard down as this virus is proving to be persistent and resilient. Nevertheless, life under this new normal goes on, and so does our budgeting. The presentation of the budget for the Commission's consideration is one of my most important duties as your manager. As mandated by law, I'm happy to present you with a balanced budget. During this year's budgeting process, the Commission held 5 budget workshops to publicly discuss the fiscal year 2021 budget. The budget presented before you tonight includes the following major items based upon our discussions. Number one, continued funding for renewal and replacement of infrastructure with enhanced support and professional services to move forward future projects and funding mechanisms. Number two, continued emphasis on public safety. Number three, minor adjustments to electric and water rates of less than 1%, which allow us to continue to maintain our infrastructure and offer low competitive rates, the lowest in our region. Number four, no increase in property tax rates. Number five, no increase in the city's fire assessment rates. Number six, no increase in solid waste or wastewater rates. Number seven, staff merit increases of up to 2.5%. Mr. Mayor, in addition, if the commission will remember, at our last workshop, we had a $15,000 surplus of revenues over expenses. Staff has identified 3 areas in which the commission might want to allocate those funds. The first would be allocated to savings. The second would be, Mike, allocated towards the capital improvement programs that we've been discussing in our workshops. We're setting aside some professional services money to further explore those and include it with those funds. Or number three, we could allocate it to staff merit increases, and that $15,000 would get us up to about a merit increase of 3.5%. Mr. Mayor, at this time, if the commission has a preference on that, we'd like to get that feedback, and then we'll make sure that's included in the final budget when it's prepared for the commission later this month.
And Mr. Manager, so just for clarity's sake, that 15,000 is the surplus that's in the existing balanced budget. So to commit it to moving our employee merit pay raises from 2.5% to 3.5% doesn't require any increase in anything. It's just something that could pretty much align with what we, with the amount of money that we have in surplus would move us to that direction. Is there
Correct.
any commissioner wants to comment on that and perhaps offer any direction for that? Commissioner Clark.
Mr. Mayor, with the money here, and I'm an advocate for the low paying on the totem pole. I see where we go down to whoever makes below a certain point, and I'll leave that up to the staff or some way. We need to figure this out, is to get to the lower people, to be able to give them a little bit bigger raise and get them up in the speed of not the people making $40,000, $50,000 a year, to let that stay as is. Take the 15,000, go to the bottom line, the bottom workers, and figure out where they can get the higher up in the pay.
So what I'm hearing from Commissioner Clark is a yes on the 15,000 to go to merit, with a further stipulation that our most vulnerable employees be taken care of first. Do I hear a second or other thoughts? Commissioner Coleman?
Well, on the merit pay, it's paid out by who performs the best. So it's going to be kind of tough because we got some new employees and that have come in. I mean, not saying bottom of the totem pole. I'm definitely behind Commissioner Clark on this, but it might be a hindrance, you know what I'm saying, because of that. But if you have, if these lower pay employees are working hard and they end up with a high score, I guess to say the relevance is there anyway, compared to the ones that aren't rated high. So am I right, Mayor, on that?
You are.
Okay. Any way you want to do that, I'm for the money going to the employees is what I'm at on that. Any way you want to structure it, that's fine.
Okay, so that's two commissioners saying that they're fine with allocating the 15,000 surplus over. Any other commissioner want to get in there? We have two commissioners in support, one commissioner offering to give a greater level of direction to staff about that. Commissioner Martin.
I'm actually kind of indifferent, whatever the manager feels is the best use of the funds at this point.
Okay. Any other commissioner want to weigh in on this? I have three commissioners. Commissioner Martin, you're indifferent to how it goes, but you're supportive of it going to the employees. Is that fair? Or you're indifferent to the whole thing?
I have no preference. I don't want to micromanage the manager that much.
Okay. Any other Commissioner Farnsworth?
Yeah, I have no problem with it going to the employees too, but also I think it should be up to the manager to decide how it's divvied up. I don't want to punish our long-term employees that have been faithful to the city while giving money to some of the people that haven't been here, that don't do the best job that they can.
Commissioner Norfleet, do you have any comments on this before we move forward, or are you fine with the conversation so far? Okay. I guess the only thing I would say is, it's kind of late in the game to, as Commissioner Martin said, to micromanage. We have a policy of the merit pay. I think I hear and am compassionate to what Commissioner Clark is saying. And I think what I'd like to ask staff to do is over the next upcoming year, let's, we did a salary range. I can't remember what we called it a couple of years ago. Maybe it's time to look at that again and with particular emphasis on our most vulnerable employees and see how we're doing compared to our peers and see if there's an adjustment there that needs to happen. But I hate to direct you to do something here on the fly and we can't really think it out. I'd rather give it to the manager and let the manager have some time to think about it. Commissioner
Mr.
Clark.
Mayor, I'm totally not micromanaging the manager. I meant that as would love to give the employees something and those at the bottom would be able to work their way up. I'm totally with him making that choice and getting the money where it needs to go.
Well, it sounds like you have unanimous consent to do this. And Rich, remind me, because we're going to vote on this whole thing. Do we need a vote to allocate that surplus, or is the conversation here sufficient with the vote that will come at the end?
The conversation is sufficient, and we can hold off until the end of this material.
Okay, thank you, sir.
On everything.
Mr. Mayor, I think you're still in the middle of your script.
Correct, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. The budget is funded at the tentative millage rate of 5.999 mils, which represents the same tax level as set in previous years. The rate and budget set up at this hearing tonight is what will be advertised and is the highest rate the commission can adopt. The commission can lower the property tax rate at the final hearing on September 28th if it chooses to do so, but could not increase it from tonight's rate. With the vision of the commission at the forefront, your staff has spent an enormous amount of time weighing the available funding and the many competing needs for providing services to our community. I wanted to thank our department heads and other charter officers for being cognizant of the unique challenges we face and for presenting budgets that reflect the goals of reducing the burden on the city's taxpayers while providing the highest levels of service. Dallas Lee, our Director of Finance and Administration, will now lead us through a discussion of the millage and the budget.
Dallas?
One of the requirements of the truth in millage legislation is to provide information about why the tentative millage rate is higher or lower than the rolled back millage rate. The tentative millage rate for the city of Newberry is 5.99999 mils, which is 1.81% more than the rolled back rate of 5.8930 mils. The rolled back rate is defined as the millage rate, which exclusive of new construction, additions to structure, deletions, and property added to geographic boundary changes, will provide the same ad valorem tax revenue for each taxing authority as was levied during the prior year. The City of Newberry's tentative millage rate is the rate at which the City Commission has, through due study and consideration, determined is needed to fund the municipal operations of the City of Newberry in the best interest, public health, and welfare of its citizens. The tentative millage rate is the same rate as was levied in the prior year. However, the TRIM process requires that a notice of tax increase be advertised when the current year proposed aggregate millage rate exceeds the calculated aggregate rolled back millage rate. The aggregate rolled back millage rate is calculated by dividing the prior year estimated property tax revenue by the current year taxable property value divided by 1,000. The current year taxable value does not include new construction and annex values. For the 2020 tax year, the proposed millage rate of 5.9999 is 1.81% greater than the rolled back millage rate of 5.8930, resulting in an advertising of a notice of tax increase. Mr. Mayor, the 2020-2021 tentative budget summary for all funds of the City of Newberry summarizes all revenue and other financing sources available to the city in the amount of $15,485,206 and reserves brought forward in the amount of $10,308,085 for a total revenue and other financing sources available to the city in the amount of $25,793,291 and appropriations in the amount of $15,204,416 with reserves appropriated in the amount of $10,588,874 for total appropriations of $25,793,291, which is a net decrease from the amended fiscal year 2020 budget of $25,993,323. Your proposed general fund budget is $9,007,856. The proposed special revenue funds budgets total $415,000. The proposed enterprise fund budgets total $15,456,142. And your total proposed internal service funds budget total $914,293. Mr. Mayor, that concludes my comments on the tentative budget presented to you this evening, and I'd be happy to answer any questions about the budget at this time.
Does the commission have any questions for Dallas? And again, if you're watching at home, ladies and gentlemen, it may seem a little strange to be reading the script, but remember that the commission has sat through 5 or 6, I could have lost count of one, workshops where we've delved deep into these issues and asked a lot of questions. So now is really more an opportunity for your questions when we get there. So no questions of staff. Okay. So at this point, I'm going to invite citizens to comment on the fiscal year 2020-21 proposed millage rates and proposed budget. Please come forward to the podium or call into the meeting using the instructions on your screen coming up now if you wish to address the commission. We do request that each speaker try to limit his or her comments to 3 minutes. The hearing will continue until everyone who wishes to address the commission has had an opportunity to speak. And remember that our YouTube folks watching at home are about 30 seconds behind our live feed. So I'm going to give a few seconds here to make sure that we have plenty of time for them to call in. So ladies and gentlemen, if you do have a question or comment on the millage rate or the proposed budget, now is a wonderful opportunity to do so. And the telephone number on your screen will get you into the meeting. Once you're in the meeting, all you need to do is click that little hand symbol at the bottom of your screen. That will let us know that you would like to make a comment to the commission, and we'll make sure you have the opportunity to do so. Dallas, do we have anyone in the waiting room with their hand up, or is anyone in the chamber tonight wish to make a comment or ask a question?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. We'll come back to the commission. I'll now close the public comment section of this public hearing and ask the Director of Finance to take us through the next section.
Mr. Mayor, the document before you included in your agenda packet is the City of Newberry fiscal year 2020-2021 budget summary, which includes the items that were described earlier. Any additional adjustments to this tentative budget and millage should be made by motion at this time. As a reminder, the millage rate that the commission adopts now will be the highest rate the commission can adopt at its final hearing.
Okay, does the commission wish to make any adjustments to the tentative budget or millage? And again, for our new commissioner, this is the moment, and our existing commissioners, this is the moment. Once we pass this moment, we're locked in at least through the first reading. So if anyone wants to propose anything else about the millage, anyone wants to propose anything else about the budget, now speak now or forever hold your peace. And I'm looking for Commissioner Martin. There he is. Okay, I got him. Okay. Hearing none, then I will seek a motion to adopt the budget. I'm sorry, adopt the millage. Adopt the budget. No? Adopted. Oh, and adjustments adopted by motion. Never mind. No motion requested. Dallas, continue.
Florida statutes require that the name of the taxing authority, the millage rate to be levied, the rolled back rate, and the percentage increase over rolled back rate be publicly announced. Accordingly, the City of Newberry City Commission has determined that a proposed millage rate of 5.9999 mils is necessary to fund the tentative general municipal government. The proposed millage rate represents an increase of 1.81% above the rolled back rate of 5.8930 mils.
Mr. Mayor, at this time, in the city commissioners, I will read in resolution 2020-38 by title only. A resolution determining and adopting the tentative rate of taxation on real and personal property and making the annual levying of ad valorem taxes for the city of Newberry, Florida for the fiscal year 2020-2021 and providing an effective date. The appropriate motion is to approve resolution 2020-38 as read by title only.
Okay, do I have a motion from the commission to approve resolution 2020-38? I have a motion from Commissioner Farnsworth, a second from Commissioner Coleman. Any questions or comments on the motion on the floor from the dais? Okay, we're going to be doing a lot of public comment here, so just bear with us as we make sure that the public has the opportunity to call in on all of these. So ladies and gentlemen, we have a motion probably second on the floor to approve resolution 2020-38, which is our resolution on the tentative millage rate. If you have a comment or you want to ask a question about the millage rate, all you need to do is dial the phone number that's on your screen. Once we get you into the meeting, you'll look at the bottom of your screen. You'll see a little hand symbol. So simply click that hand symbol. That'll let us know that you'd like to address the commission. We'll make sure that you have the opportunity to do so. We're on item 8 of the agenda, adopting the tentative millage. We'll give just a few seconds here to make sure our YouTube folks have caught up with us in real time. Dallas, we have anyone in the waiting room?
No, sir.
Okay, we'll come back for a roll call vote. Commissioner Coleman. Commissioner Clark. Commissioner Farnsworth. Commissioner Martin.
Aye as well.
Commissioner Norfleet. Motion passes unanimously. Mr. Attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will now read resolution 2020-39 by title only. The resolution of the city of Newberry, Florida relating to the city's budget for the 2020-2021 fiscal year, providing for the tentative appropriation of funds of the city of Newberry for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2020 and ending September 30th, 2021, approving a proposed general city budget, setting a public hearing date, providing for publication of notice, and providing an effective date. The appropriate motion is to approve resolution 2020-39 as read by title only.
You'll have that motion. A motion from Commissioner Coleman. I have a second from Commissioner Farnsworth. Any questions or comments on the motion on the floor from the dais? Hearing none, ladies and gentlemen, we've come to item 9 on tonight's budget, which is establishing a tentative budget. We have a motion properly seconded on the floor for approval. If you'd like to call in and ask a question or make a comment to the commission about the tentative budget, now would be the appropriate time to do so. And you can do that by calling the number on your screen. Once we get you into the meeting, you'll see a little hand symbol at the bottom of your screen. Simply click that hand symbol and you'll let us know that you'd like to address the commission. We'll make sure you have the opportunity to do so. If you're joining by phone, press the number 9 to raise your hand. And once you're in, we're going to need you to unmute yourself. It's been about 30 seconds. Dallas, do we have anyone with their hand up?
No, sir.
Okay, we'll go to a roll call vote. Commissioner Coleman, Commissioner Clark, Commissioner Farnsworth, Commissioner Martin,
Aye.
Commissioner Norfleet. Motion passes unanimously. And Dallas.
A public hearing will be held to consider the final millage rate and final budget for the general city purposes on Monday, the 28th of September, 2020 at 7:00 p.m. or as soon thereafter as the matter may be heard in the Newberry City Hall Commission Chambers located at 25440 West Newberry Road, Newberry, Florida. This meeting may be held virtually in accordance with the governor's orders. Mr. Mayor and City Commissioners, the next two items relate to your utilities. The City of Newberry establishes utility rates to generate revenue sufficient to meet its operating expenses. Staff evaluates utility rates annually during the budget process and, if warranted, recommends rates be adjusted. Staff utilizes various models for developing its utility rates to forecast customers, electric and water consumption, wastewater generation, and the anticipated expenses to determine whether rates will produce revenues which are sufficient to meet the expenses associated with providing utility services to our residents. Many of the city's costs to provide these services are fixed or have increased, such as personnel services, fuel, repairs, etc. At the City Commission's Utility Budget Workshop, city staff presented these proposed rate changes, and the City Commission gave consensus to include these rates in the tentative budget. Water rates have been adjusted by 1.79% in the consumption charge and no change in the residential customer charge for an average residential impact of 25 cents per month. This rate increase keeps the city's rates as the lowest rates in the area. These rate increases also work towards the Commission's goal of operating self-sustaining utility enterprises. In accordance with the City Commission's policy, this rate increase is commensurate with the Public Service Commission's published Consumer Price Index for water and wastewater of 1.79%. Residential electric rates are proposed to be adjusted by 1% for an average residential impact of $1 per month. Non-residential rates are proposed to be adjusted in a similar fashion. There is no rate change proposed for either solid waste or wastewater charges. Even after these proposed rate changes, the city will continue to offer competitive low rates when compared to other utilities in our area. Affected customers were properly notified in their August bills. The city will additionally need to file reports with the Public Service Commission to inform them of our proposed electric rate changes. Mr. Mayor, that concludes my comments.
Okay, thank you, Dallas. Does the commission have any questions for staff or any dialogue that you'd like to engage in at this point? Again, for those of you watching at home, the commission has sat through many hours through the summer on these, so please don't interpret any lack of questions now as a lack of engagement. They have been engaged in this process all summer long. Okay, Mr. Attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor and City Commissioners, the item before you is ordinance 2020-25. This is first reading of ordinance 2020-25, an ordinance pertaining to water service within the city of Newberry, amending the prior established rates and amending sections 98-154 of the Code of Ordinances of the city of Newberry, amending ordinance number 2019-23, repealing all ordinances in conflict and providing an effective date. The appropriate motion is to approve ordinance 2020-25 upon first reading as read by title only.
Thank you, sir. I have a motion for approval by Commissioner Farnsworth, a second from Commissioner Clark. Any questions? Commissioner Coleman. We switched different members.
You said that earlier. Okay.
Any other questions from the commission? Not Dallas, go ahead, put our phone number up. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are on your published agenda number 11, but at the beginning of the meeting, we needed to switch items 10 and 11 around. So if you're a little lost on your agenda, it's all right, we understand. On your agenda, you had looked at number 11 for establishing water rates. That's become the new agenda item 10. So if you'd like to call in and address the commission on the proposed water rates, the changes there, now would be the appropriate time to do so. And you may do that by dialing the phone number on your screen now, Once you are into the meeting, simply click that little hand symbol at the bottom of your screen. That will let us know that you'd like to address the commission, and we'll make sure that you have the opportunity to do so. Dallas, do we have anyone with their hand raised? Okay, we'll come back for a roll call vote. Commissioner Coleman, Commissioner Clark, Commissioner Farnsworth, Commissioner Martin,
Aye.
Commissioner Norfleet. Motion passes unanimously. Mr. Attorney, you're up again.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor and City Commissioners, the item before you is ordinance 2020-24, an ordinance of the City of Newberry, Florida pertaining to electric utility services in the City of Newberry to amend and revise Section 98-63, subsections 1, 2, 3, and 8 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Newberry pertaining to the energy charge, providing for codification of the same, repealing all ordinances in conflict, and providing an effective date. The appropriate motion is to approve ordinance 2020-24 upon first reading as read by title only.
Okay, do I have a motion to do so? I have a motion from Commissioner Norfleet. A second from Commissioner Farnsworth. Any questions or comments on 2020-24 from the dais? Hearing none. Dallas, if you put our phone number up. Ladies and gentlemen, we're on the new item 11 on your agenda. So on your agenda, if you printed it off before the meeting, it would be item 10. At the beginning of the meeting, we switched them around. At this point, we are voting on establishing the electric rates. If you'd like to address the commission on the proposed electric rates, now would be the appropriate time to do so. And you can do that by dialing on your screen. Once we get you into the meeting, all you need to do is click the little hand symbol at the bottom of your screen. That'll let us know that you'd like to make a comment, address the commission. If you're doing that on your telephone, just hit number 9. That'll let us know that you would like to talk to the commission about the proposed electric rates. And do we have one person? Is that a
Commissioner Martin?
Okay. Again, we've got about a 30-second delay between our live feed. Is everybody have their microphone off? Is the microphone off up there? Mike? That might be creating, yeah, it is off. Okay. Hearing anybody with their hand up, Dallas?
Yes, sir.
Okay, roll call vote. Commissioner Coleman? Commissioner Clark? Commissioner Farnsworth? Commissioner Martin?
Aye.
Commissioner Norfleet? Motion passes unanimous. That was 2024, correct? Okay, so that takes us to item 12, right? Okay, so this concludes the first public hearing of the City of Newberry's fiscal year 2021 budget and millage rates. A final public hearing will be held to consider the final millage rates and final budget for general city purposes on Monday, the 28th of September in the year 2020 at 7 o'clock in the PM. Congratulations, Commission. You made it through the first reading of the 2020 budget. We get to do it all over one more time. And that takes us to item 11. No, I'm sorry, item 12. Participating in Alachua County Solid Waste Municipal Service Business Unit. Dallas, I believe you're going to take us through this. Do you need a minute? I can ask the attorney to read the resolution in if you're balancing presentations and.
Yeah, if the attorney would like to read the ordinance, then that would be great.
Hey, would you please
Absolutely.
read 2020-22 for us?
I'd be happy to do so. Ordinance number 2020-22, the second reading, an ordinance amending ordinance 2019-25, providing consent for the entire corporate limits of the City of Newberry, Florida to be included in a non-ad valorem assessment or municipal service benefit unit created by Alachua County for the provision of solid waste management costs, providing conditions for the consent, providing that the consent is for 1 year, and providing an immediate effective date. The appropriate motion would be to pass ordinance number 2020-22 as read by title only.
Dallas, was your hesitation because there is no staff presentation here because we just had a presentation on this 2 weeks ago? And
Mr. Mayor, I'd be happy to give a staff presentation if the commission would like, but I do not have any new information from what was presented last
Commission
week.
have any Any further questions on this? We've kind of talked about this an awful lot here in the past month, so. Okay, so we have the ordinance read into the record. Do I have a motion to approve? I have a motion from Commissioner Farnsworth, a second from Commissioner Coleman. Questions or comments from the dais? Okay, hearing none. Dallas, if you'll put our telephone number back up. Ladies and gentlemen, we're on item 12. We are back to our published agenda. So your item 12 is our item 12. Item 12 is about the solid waste municipal service business unit. This is how we pay our proportional share of the Alachua County dump. If you'd like to address the commission on this issue, all you need to do is dial the phone number that's on your screen. Once we get you into the meeting, on the bottom of your screen, you see a little hand symbol. Simply click that hand symbol. That'll let us know that you'd like to address the commission. We'll make sure you have the opportunity to do so. Dallas, do we have anyone with their hand raised?
No, sir.
Okay. We'll go back for a roll call vote. Commissioner Coleman, Commissioner Clark, Commissioner Farnsworth, Commissioner Martin,
Aye.
Commissioner Norfleet. Motion passed unanimously. That takes us to item 13, which is confidential reporting procedure. I'm going to go ahead and ask Rich to read this is the second reading of ordinance 2020-12 into the record for us, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ordinance number 2020-12, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Newberry, Florida, amending Chapter 70 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Newberry entitled Personnel to include whistleblower provisions, Sections 70-40 through 70-44, establishing an administrative procedure for employees and other persons to report instances of illegality, mismanagement, malfeasance, or fraud on the part of city employees, agents, or contractors, providing a procedure for investigating such allegations, providing for non-retaliation for persons who report such instances, providing a manner for persons alleging retaliation to seek redress, acknowledging authority of charter officers to do the same, providing for repealing clause, providing for severability, providing for inclusion in the code, and providing an effective date. The appropriate motion is to approve ordinance 2020-12 upon second reading as read by title only.
Thank you, Rich. I believe it was before, but he's here. Do you have any questions? I have a motion by Commissioner Coleman and a second by Commissioner Farnsworth, so we can put it on the floor for discussion. Does anyone have a comment about that motion or have any follow-up questions? This is the second reading, so we got our presentation at the first reading. Hearing nothing from the dais. Dallas, will you put our phone number up? Hang on one second, Commissioner Martin. You're muted, Tim. Unmute yourself, Tim.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just noting to the clerk there was a typo in the middle there on waste, the word waste.
All right. Thank you, sir. All right. Any further comments from the dais? Hearing none. Now, Dallas, take us to our phone number. Ladies and gentlemen, we are on item 13, confidential reporting procedures. This is the second reading of ordinance 2020-12. We have a motion probably second on the floor for approval. If you'd like to talk to the commission, make a comment to the commission, or ask a question about this, all you need to do is dial the phone number on your screen. We'll get you into the meeting. Once you're in the meeting, all you need to do is click that little hand symbol at the bottom of your screen. That'll let us know that you have a comment. If you want to make a question to the commission, we'll make sure you have the opportunity to do so. Dallas, do we have anybody with a hand raised?
No, sir.
All right, will you take us back to the dais for a roll call vote? We'll begin with Commissioner Coleman, Commissioner Clark, Commissioner Farnsworth, Commissioner Martin,
Aye.
and Commissioner Norfleet. Motion passes unanimously. That takes us to item 14, right-of-way use policy and manual. This is a first reading. So Rich, if you would read it into the record for us, we'll see if staff has a presentation on this.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ordinance number 2020-16, an ordinance pertaining to right-of-way use permits within the City of Newberry, Florida, amending Chapter 82 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Newberry to create Article 3 related to use of public rights-of-way, authorizing city staff to adopt further policies and procedures for the use of public rights-of-way and establishing applicable fees, repealing all ordinances in conflict, and providing an effective date. The appropriate motion is to approve ordinance 2020-16 upon first reading as read by title only.
Thank you, sir. Let's see, Jamie, do you have a presentation? Do you want to talk to the address commission on this item? I lost it.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, briefly. Back in 2006, the city commission adopted a resolution that established a permitting process for using the right-of-way for installation of utilities, driveways, and such. It also identified that the use of the right-of-way was a permissive use only and did not create or invest any property right to the permittee. It also identified that construction or installation of utilities in the right-of-way would comply with our current construction utility accommodation guide and would be inspected by the Public Works Department upon completion to ensure those standards were met. Staff developed a right-of-way use policy manual that incorporates those conditions. And after discussion with the city's attorney's office, it was identified that it needed to be converted from resolution form to ordinance form. So we're requesting that the commission consider and adopt this on first reading.
I can't hear myself. Am I on? No, there it is. Do you have any questions for Jamie? If not, I'll entertain a motion on
A question.
2020-16.
I have a question.
Hang on one second. I have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second? I have a second. A motion from Commissioner Norfleet, a second from Commissioner Farnsworth. Question, Commissioner Martin.
Yeah, Rich, can you give us the 30-second cliff notes of what the difference was?
I'll be honest with you on this one. I'm not sure if I was the author on the rewrite to this. So I probably am not the best guy to give you that 30 seconds.
Jamie, what were you told?
Can you help me out on that or?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, I can speak to that. Basically, the conditions are the same in ordinance form. It just incorporates the actual manual that lays out the guidelines. And one of the reasons to convert from resolution to ordinance, when people go to searching, they search the code of ordinances to determine what they can and cannot do. They don't normally search for resolutions.
Thank you, Commissioner Martin.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? We have a motion, probably second on the floor, to approve on first reading ordinance 2020-16. There are no more questions or comments from the dais. Dallas, if you put our phone number back up. Ladies and gentlemen, we've come to item 14 on your published agenda. It's the right-of-way use policy and manual, ordinance 2020-16. It has been properly motioned for approval and seconded. If you'd like to address the commission on this item, all you need to do is dial the phone number on your screen. That will get you into the meeting. Once you're in the meeting, there's a little hand symbol at the bottom of your screen. Simply click that hand symbol. That'll let us know that you'd like to make a comment to the commission. We'll make sure you have the opportunity to address them. Once again, we have about a 30-second delay between our YouTube feed and our live feed. So we're just killing a little bit of time here, making sure folks watching on YouTube have the opportunity to address their commission. Dallas, do we have anybody with their hand raised?
Yes, sir.
It'll take us back to the commission for a roll call vote. Commissioner Goldman. Commissioner Clark. Commissioner Farnsworth. Commissioner Martin.
Aye.
Commissioner Norfleet. Motion passes unanimously. That takes us to cemetery policy and procedures. This is a second reading of ordinance 2020-15. Rich, will you read this one into the record for us, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ordinance number 2020-15, an ordinance pertaining to cemeteries within the city of Newberry, amending the prior chapter 22 of the Code of Ordinances of the city of Newberry to update the cost of lots, authorize city staff to adopt policies and procedures for the cemetery, authorize city staff to no longer provide interment services, repealing all ordinances in conflict and providing an effective date. The appropriate motion is to approve ordinance 2020-15 upon second reading as read by title only.
Thank you, Rich. Jamie gave us a pretty in-depth presentation on this a couple weeks ago. Does the commission come up with any further thoughts, questions, or comments before we ask for a motion? Commissioner Martin?
I'm sorry, I didn't remember the presentation, and this is I'm going to be displaying my ignorance. What is actually the I guess the definition of the internment process and or the covering or uncovering of a grave?
Mr. Jones?
Under, yes, Mayor, under the existing ordinance, it was determined that the city should not only mark, but open and close the grave. So every time that there's a funeral service provided at the cemetery, city staff opens the grave, and after the service is over, we actually cover and compact the grave. After researching other cemetery operations in the area, we could only find one other municipal cemetery that did this. That was in Palatka. And after researching the cost of funeral services, the best that we can identify, us performing this service, it does not change the cost of actual funeral service. It's part of their package to open and close the grave. And the fees that the city actually charges is an additional cost to the family. So we've requested that this be part of the funeral home director and the funeral home package. The city would be responsible for marking the lots and identifying that everything is placed properly, but we would not be the entity to open or close the grave.
Does that answer your question, Commissioner Martin?
Well, it kind of leads me to another question of whether or not is there any kind of issues with having them doing all that and getting these put in the wrong place, for lack of a better description? And if we're providing less service, why are we looking at a costing like a 50% cost increase? If I read correctly, we're going to go from $400 to $600.
There is no increase in cost for the internment. There's actually the fees and fines for lot sales is laid out in the fee and fine resolution. It's not part of this document. Prior to working for the city of Newberry, I worked in a municipality where I overseen cemetery operations for 13 and a half years, and all graves were marked by the municipality, and the funeral homes provided the opening and closing of the grave. It is identified in the policy manual that if there is any error on the part of the funeral home, that the funeral home is responsible to relocate the remains, the vault, and put it in the correct place.
You're pretty sure they can handle this and take care of that?
Yes, sir, I am. They perform it in every cemetery, but here in Palatka.
And where was I reading the $400 to $600 price increase?
I'm not sure where that increase is.
Mr. Manager, do you know?
And I'm the only one that's having some real.
I'm sorry, if somebody's talking, I can't hear them.
I do not know what he's referring to, but I have a suspicion that it may be in the final item that we'll be considering tonight, which is the resolution that has all the costs for services. Item number 19, charges and rates for services provided. I'm going to check that if the commission, if you want to go on to questions from one of the commissioners on the dais.
Yeah, I'm going to go to Commissioner Coleman. I don't remember, I can't hear myself here. But
I can hear you.
I don't remember seeing a 400 to 600 increase either, but we'll look for that. Commissioner Coleman.
All these private graves, family graves all over the state of Florida, you're dependent on the funeral director to dig the graves and to cover the graves. It's a process they do every day. They're not gonna, I don't see any issue with this.
I mean, from the presentation that we got and from my conversation with funeral homes, this sort of took Newberry out as a competitor in a private industry. That this is one of the ways that funeral homes compete with each other. And when cities get involved, that kind of pollutes that situation. So, Mr. Manager, were you able to find an increase? Not yet. Are there any other questions?
I know what it,
Did you find
on page 337, it has.
Mr. Mayor,
Hang on one second. Dallas says he's found it, Tim.
Mr. Mayor, I believe the price increase that Commissioner Martin is speaking of is in our schedule of fees, rates, and charges, which is on your agenda later today. Previously, in our cemetery fee schedule, we had multiple different rates based off if you lived in the city limits, if you lived in 32669, if you lived outside of the city limits. When we did an evaluation of our cemetery fees, we discovered that our fees were vastly under market. In adopting this ordinance, we eliminated the different pricing for the different areas of town. Our experience has been that no matter where you live, you just find somebody who lives in Newberry to sign the paperwork for you. So you got the cheapest price. So we did increase the fees to the middle tier and provided some discounts for higher levels. These fees still put us at one of the most affordable cemeteries in the area. But in eliminating that interment fee that we were charging, we did increase the site fee just a little bit to kind of recapture a little bit of it and keep our sites at a competitive cost.
Is that what you're looking at, Tim?
Yeah, actually, yes, two different places. On page 220 in the summary, it identifies the cost at a minimum of $400 to be collected by the city. But yeah, on page 337 of the packet, the requested amount is listed at 600. So that's where I was identifying the difference. And yeah, I understand that maybe we're a little under market, but if I don't know, it just doesn't seem like we really need an increase, and I don't know that we sell a whole lot of these every year anyway. Maybe it's just a ticky tack thing, but
Mr. Jones.
And we purposely, on this ordinance and all the ordinances we do, we try to remove the fees out of the ordinance. The cemetery policy and procedure doesn't speak to fees. That gives the commission a chance to consider and adopt what they think are reasonable fees as part of the budgetary process every year. That's the reason Commissioner Martin's picking that up in the fee and fine schedule backup, not in the backup for this ordinance.
Okay, I think that pinpoints my confusion here because these are two separate conversations. One is the ordinance in front of us that allows us or lets us extricate ourselves from part of this. Another conversation would be what the commission charges. And that was wrapped into this year's budget, those fees, those numbers, Mr. Manager?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I believe. I think that the $400 fee that he's seeing in the staff report is what we were charging for internment. That fee is going away. The $600 fee that is in the fee schedule is the cost to procure a lot or a burial plot within the cemetery. So they're just independent fees. And now Dallas is indicating that the cost to procure a lot had been on a sliding scale depending on where you were, and that in this proposed pricing scheme for fiscal year 21, he's consolidated those. But I would remind the commission that when you purchase that lot in Newberry, the reason that ours is so much lower than everyone else's, when you purchase a cemetery plot, it is for perpetual maintenance. So we will fill up that cemetery at some point, And the city will have the responsibility to keep it in nice care for as long as the city is in city operations. We're not going to put it into a state of neglect once it's at capacity. So I think that's why we're on the low end. Most people have already taken that step. Typically, whenever you purchase a lot, a portion goes into an operating budget and a portion goes into a perpetual care fund that is supposed to generate enough revenue every year for forever. And currently the city of Newberry doesn't have that perpetual maintenance fund. But this would be a step in that direction. And I expect within the next year or two that we would have a very prolonged discussion with the commission about how they want to proceed with that. You'll notice that we have a lot of issues coming up from Mr. Jones tonight, and for the past 6 months, he has been knocking out a lot of the issues that the commission asking. That issue of what do we want to do with perpetual care maintenance of the cemetery is a little bit further down the list. I'm not sure we'll get to it in the next 3 months, but it is something I expect that will be in front of the commission in the next year or so, setting up a perpetual care maintenance fund. So that's kind of a long answer to a short question, but I think that gives the commission a broader understanding of how staff got to where we are.
And so in the next year or so, we're going to have a workshop on that perpetual maintenance and on what the cost should be in order to fund this.
Correct.
This ordinance in front of us tonight is just about consolidating all of that into one ordinance to allow us to make those kinds of decisions in the future.
Correct.
Commissioner Coleman?
I got a family member that just bought 2 lots in Jacksonville. We're way under it. I mean, I think we spent like $4,500 for each one. So.
Yeah, I've recently been in that market myself, and 600 sounds like it's not going to pay for the maintenance, much less the lot. You know, I mean, I think everybody else is in that 3,000 to 5,000 range, depending on the environment of your city. Okay, Ms. Judy, can you tell me, do I have a motion on the floor already? I do not. Okay. So with the second reading of ordinance 2020-15, this is about the cemetery policies and procedures. Do I hear a motion to approve? I have a motion from Commissioner Clark, a second from Commissioner Farnsworth. Any questions or comments from the dais on the motion on the floor? Hearing none. And can you hear me, Dallas? I don't hear myself in mine. Oh, good. I'm glad you guys can. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are at item 15 on tonight's agenda. We've been talking about the cemetery policies and procedures. This is second reading of ordinance 2020-15. It has been motioned and properly seconded for approval. If you'd like to address the commission on this agenda item, all you need to do is dial the phone number on your screen. Once we get you into the meeting, you'll see a little hand symbol at the bottom of your screen. If you'd like to address the commission, make a comment, ask a question, all you need to do is press that hand symbol. We'll make sure you have the opportunity to do so. And again, we have a slight delay between our live feed and the folks watching on YouTube. So we'll just make sure we've given enough time to get them caught up with us. And Dallas, do we have anyone with their hand raised?
Sure.
Okay, then we'll go back to the commission for a roll call vote. Commissioner Coleman.
Aye.
Commissioner Clark. Commissioner Farnsworth. Commissioner Martin.
Aye.
Commissioner Norfleet. Motion passes unanimously. That takes us to item 16, water and wastewater system development charge ordinances revision. This is a first reading. So Rich, would you read it into the record for us? And then we'll ask Jamie to give us a short presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ordinance number 2020-23, an ordinance pertaining to utilities within the city of Newberry, amending Division 2 and Division 3 of Article 6, Chapter 98 of the Code of Ordinances of the city of Newberry pertaining to water system development charges and sewer system development charges, repealing all ordinances in conflict and providing an effective date. The appropriate motion is to approve ordinance 2020-23 upon first reading as read by title only.
Thank you, Rich. Jamie, you want to tell the commission what this is about?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, the city of Newberry charges new development a water system and wastewater system development charge. The basis of these charges are to recover the portion of the cost of financing the extension or expansion of the city wastewater system or water system. This means that the development charge is for that use only, and it goes in a segregated account to ensure that that happens. The amount of the charge for residential construction is based on a term of art known as an equivalent single-family residential unit, or ERU. Each building that's designed for or occupied by one family, single-family residence served by the city through a single meter connection shall constitute an ERU. As a little background, our current ordinance, when it comes to commercial, gives several methodologies as to how you can calculate a commercial equivalent of equivalent residential units. Sometimes it's based on seats, sometimes it's based on fixture count, and various other methods. When you use several of these methodologies, you will come up with different charges based on the use. So to be more consistent and standard with the way things are going in the industry, what staff has proposed that we amend both of these existing ordinances and institute a process where these charges are based on meter size. So it wouldn't make any difference if a commercial entity was a restaurant, a laundromat, or any other various commercial use. If they certify that they need a 2-inch meter, that's equivalent to X amount of houses. If they certify they need a 3/4 meter, it's equivalent to X amount of houses. We feel that this will make the calculation simpler. The developers and contractors will know what to expect and provide a consistent charge. So we're requesting that the commission consider and approve this on first reading.
Jamie, would it be fair to say that this is a fairer way to go about this? It seems, not that our old way was unfair, but this seems like you would actually pay for what you would be using. Am I getting the gist of this?
Yes, sir. It's basically you're identifying what water you need and what wastewater you'll generate regardless of type use. There's nothing left open to interpretation. There is a couple exceptions to that. If they bring in a certification for a meter that is just grossly undersized, the city reserves the right to get them to demonstrate how they came up with that consumption or generation rate. And it also identifies that a 2-bedroom, 1-bath apartment or 2-bedroom, 1-bath home is not a full ERU, that it's 3/4 of an ERU, and that a RV spot is a half a ERU. So as I said before, you certify the meter, what the meter is capable of putting through in gallons per minute, that determines your ERUs regardless of what type of business you're wanting to construct. And I think it'll be a more consistent process and aligned with what charges are being applied in other municipal and county entities in the state of Florida.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Questions of staff? Commissioner Clark.
Mayor, so this is kind of the first I've heard of this, so, and I understand what Jamie's saying there. Does it look like with what we have in our growth management that this is going to up the charges of people coming to Newberry? Is it pretty much going to stay the same?
Mr. Mayor, I don't believe it's going to up it. Just as an example, we had a potential restaurant that was going to be constructed or is going to be constructed in Newberry. And if you based it on fixture counts, that restaurant was equivalent to almost 30 houses. If you based it on seats, that restaurant was equivalent to about 20-something houses. If you base it on what meter size the restaurant's engineer said they need, it's only equivalent to 7 houses, which is a substantial cost savings and basically provides a more uniform process, but still allows the city to recover the cost of the capacity and the cost to construct new capacity in both the water and the wastewater system.
I mean, I have a layman's understanding of this, but in my understanding, this should save businesses a lot of money here because they've been sort of forced into certain categories, and they've often said, we don't think this is fair. I think this is a way everybody can kind of know exactly what they're getting into. This is how much I need, and that's how I'm paying for how much I need. Other questions, comments? I lost 10. There he is. Okay. Someone ready to make a motion? I have a motion for approval from Commissioner Farnsworth. I have a second from Commissioner Clark. Questions or comments from the dais? Seeing none, Dallas, if you'll put up our telephone number. Ladies and gentlemen, we're coming to item 16 on tonight's published agenda. It's the Water and Wastewater System Development Charge Ordinances. This is a revision. It's ordinance 2020-23 on your agenda. If you've been listening to the presentation, the conversation, and you'd like to make a comment or you'd like to ask a question, like the commission to consider something we have not considered, all you need to do is dial the phone number on your screen. That'll get you into the meeting. Once you're in the meeting, you'll see a little hand symbol at the bottom of your screen. Simply click that hand symbol. That'll let us know that you'd like to address the commission. We'll make sure you have the opportunity to do so. Dallas, do we have anyone with their hand raised?
Yes, sir.
We'll go back to the commission, and just to spice things up here towards the end of the night, we're going to start with Commissioner Norfleet. Commissioner Martin?
Aye.
Commissioner Farnsworth?
Aye.
Commissioner Clark? Commissioner Coleman? Motion passes unanimously. That takes us on to agenda items. Our first agenda item tonight is Fire Station Bay Roof Replacement Project Award. Jamie, I think you're going to present this to the commission.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. This item, the Fire Station Bay Roof Replacement Project Award, the recommended action is that you authorize the city manager to execute a contract with Perry Roofing Contractors in the amount of $26,500, and also authorize the city manager to approve change orders not to exceed 15% of the contracted amount. The Fire Station Bay Replacement Project was programmed in our capital improvement budget this year due to the condition of the existing flat roof and leaks in that roofing system. I would remind the commission that this is one part of the fire station that was not touched as part of the fire station remodeling program. So on July 14th, 2020, we put an RFP out, 2020-04. It was posted for flat roof replacement systems. Those bids were received on the 13th of August. We got 3 responsive and responsible bidders. Based on the review, Perry Roofing Contractor was the lowest responsive and responsible bidder with a base bid of $20,000 for a TPO roof system. Staff contacted Perry Roofing Contractors to obtain more information about the TPO and was provided additional pricing for tearing down the existing roof system and installation to the steel deck in lieu of recovery for an additional $5,000 and the installation of 100 linear foot of TPO walkway protection pads for $1,500. Based on those discussions and staff recommendations, including the building department, that we include both of these options in the contractor scope of work. The funding for this project is in the approved 2020 budget, and we recommend that you authorize the city manager to award this contract.
So often we stand before you and say, we had a really good budget estimate of X and prices came in at 2 times X or 3 times X. Fire station construction project was an example of that. This item was budgeted at $58,000 and we got that number from roofing contractors. That's how much we knew to put in our budget. When bids came in at $20,000, we were pleasantly surprised. It hasn't happened in a long time in my career that we come in well below budget. It's been many years, but this was a good news story in terms of bids coming in well below what we anticipated.
It's nice to have that happen every once in a while. Any other questions? Mr. Clark?
does that mean we got more money?
Mr. Mayor, for this line item, we have a bit of savings. You might remember at the last meeting when we were talking about lift station number 1, it was the reverse. We were well over budget. So, any savings go into filling some deficiencies that we missed during the year. And when Dallas presents the final budget, we'll see how we fared out. I think that our revenues for fiscal year 20 will exceed our expenses. But it won't, there's not a lot of mad money left for us to go play with.
That's Marlowe's lift station?
Marlowe's lift station,
Okay,
that's
just wanna
correct.
make sure we get that right now. The plaque, I mean, that's gotta be at least $55. Okay, any further questions for staff on this agenda item? If not, I'm willing to entertain a motion at this time. I have a motion from Commissioner Norfleet, a second from Commissioner Coleman. Any questions or comments on the motion on the floor? Hearing none from the dais. Dallas, if you put our phone number up, please. Ladies and gentlemen, we've come to our first agenda item, 17 on the published agenda. This is about a fire station bay roof replacement project. I think that this will pretty much complete the work on our fire station remodel. This will be the last job for a few years anyway. If you'd like to address the commission on this agenda item, which is about the bay roof replacement, now is the appropriate time to do so. All you need to do is dial the phone number on your screen. Once we get you into the meeting, at the bottom of your screen, see a little hand symbol. Simply click that hand symbol. That'll let us know that you'd like to address the commission. We'll make sure you have the opportunity to do so. Dallas, do we have anyone with their hand raised? Okay, come back to the commission for a roll call vote. We'll start with Commissioner Norfleet again. Commissioner Martin?
Aye.
Commissioner Farnsworth? Commissioner Clark? Commissioner Coleman? Motion passes unanimously. That takes us to item 18, compensation program and salary schedules. Dallas, this is resolution 2020-40. Rich, will you go ahead and read it in, and then we'll get a presentation from Dallas.
Certainly, Mr. Mayor. Resolution number 2020-40, a resolution of the City of Newberry, Florida, amending the prior adoption of a compensation program and salary schedules for the City of Newberry employees, city clerk, and elected officials, repealing all resolutions in conflict and establishing an effective date. I will make one little proviso to this resolution on the fourth recital, the fourth whereas provision. I would recommend that any motion that's entertained remove that recital, because as everybody knows, we have a newly minted charter, and the section of the charter cited there no longer exists. So it shouldn't impact substantively anything else that's addressed through this resolution, but just as some housekeeping. The appropriate motion in that case would be to pass the resolution as read by title only, subject to the amendment that I just referenced.
Okay, thank you, Rich. Dallas, do you have a short presentation for the commission on this agenda item?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. As the city commission is aware, every year as part of your budget process, the city looks at all of its pay grids and looks at our salary schedules for all employees to make sure that we are continuing to be equitable and pay market ranges for our employees. We propose changes to the pay scale, usually based upon what our peers are doing or close to the CPI. This year, we're proposing a 1% adjustment in all pay ranges. This does not result in a pay increase for any of our employees. Just keeps our pay ranges moving up, so when we hire new employees, we're not falling far behind. As part of this process every year, we also look at the existing pay ranges and make adjustments as we see fit based upon what our peers in other cities and in the private market are doing. We did have a few pay changes this year, pay grid adjustments, as well as the addition of the two new positions the city commission adopted in their budget. And these changes will all go into effect on November 1st when merit raises go into effect as well.
Okay, thank you, Dallas. Do we have any questions for Dallas? This kind of goes in line with our conversation earlier today about what we need to look at in the future. Hearing no questions from the dais, I'll entertain a motion. With, I have a motion to approve, and I'm assuming that's with Rich's amendment to the fourth whereas. Is that so, Commissioner Coleman?
Yeah.
And if that include your second, Commissioner Farnsworth? Okay, I have a motion, probably second on the floor. Any questions or comments from the dais? Hearing
No.
none. Dallas, would you put our phone number back up? Ladies and gentlemen, we come to item 18 on tonight's published agenda. Is compensation program and salary schedules, resolution 2020-40. If you'd like to ask a question, make a comment to the commission about this item on the agenda, all you need to do is dial the phone number on your screen. We'll get you into the meeting. Once you're in the meeting, look at the bottom of your screen, see a little hand symbol. Simply click that hand symbol. That'll let us know that you'd like to address the commission. We'll make sure you have the opportunity to do so. If you're calling in, hit number 9, and that will let us know that you'd like to talk to us. Dallas, do we have anyone with their hand raised?
No, sir.
Okay, we'll go back for a roll call vote. Because it just feels so unnatural, we're going to start back with Commissioner 1. Commissioner Coleman? Aye. Commissioner Clark? Aye. Commissioner Farnsworth? Aye. Commissioner Martin?
Aye.
Commissioner Norfleet? Aye. Motion passes unanimously. That takes us to item 19, which is scheduled fees, charges, and rates for services provided to residents and customers. This is resolution 2020-41. Rich, we want to go ahead and read it into the record for us, and then we'll get a presentation from Dallas.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Resolution 2020-41, a resolution of the City of Newberry, Florida, establishing certain fees by the creation of a schedule of fees, rates, and charges, superseding the fees previously established, providing authority to the city manager, providing for severability, and providing for effective date. Appropriate motion is to pass the resolution as read by title only.
Thank you, Rich. Okay, well, let's get the presentation first. Dallas. Okay, that's true. Dallas, you want to humor me and just give the presentation?
I had such a good presentation, but Commissioner Farnsworth doesn't want to hear it. It's fine. Mr. Mayor and City Commissioners, as part of our budget process every year, the Commission adopts a series of fees and charges for a variety of things. As the Commission knows, over the last 2 years, we've been trying to clean up our code of ordinances to move charges out of the code of ordinances to adopt them in a fee schedule. We look at this every year in your budget process to make sure our fees are commensurate with the cost of providing services, as well as on par with our peers, generally less than our peers is our goal. This year, there's not very many changes. Some of the changes mentioned have already been adopted, such as the electric changes were previously adopted earlier today. We did add the cemetery charges, as the Commission has now adopted an ordinance to adopt those by resolution. That is your schedule of fees and charges. No, sir.
Commissioner Martin? Mine's on, but I can't hear Tim. Tim, can you hear us?
I can now. You were,
Okay. Let's start over. Commissioner, did you hear the conversation and the motion on the floor was for approval of resolution 2020-41? Okay, and roll call votes. Commissioner Coleman?
Aye.
Commissioner Clark?
hold on.
Hang on one second. Who is trying to get my attention here? Is that Miss Judy?
Yes, I'm sorry. I could not hear the motion nor the second.
Okay, let's start all over. Okay, do I hear a motion to approve resolution 2020-41?
So moved.
I have a motion from Commissioner Coleman. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Clark. Dallas, could you tell when our sound went out that the public here, and because we went through the whole public comment there. Okay, just for safety's sake, let's put our phone number back up. Ladies and gentlemen, we've come the second time to our penultimate agenda item, which is resolution 2020-41, establishing certain fees by the creation of a schedule of fees, rates, and charges. It has been motioned and properly seconded twice. And now we have a phone number on your screen. If you'd like to call in and speak to the commission on this agenda item, you may do so now. Dial the phone number. We'll get you in the meeting. Once you're in the meeting, click that hand symbol at the bottom of your screen. That'll let us know that you'd like to address the commission with a comment or a question. We'll make sure you have the opportunity to do so. And again, that motion was made by Commissioner Coleman and it was seconded by Commissioner Clark. Miss Judy, do you have that for the record?
Yes, I do, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay. Dallas, do we have anyone with their hand raised? Okay, we'll go back for a roll call vote. Commissioner Coleman?
Aye.
Commissioner Clark? Commissioner Farnsworth? Commissioner Martin?
Aye.
Commissioner Norfleet? Motion passes unanimously. That takes us to our last item tonight, which is was not on your agenda, ladies and gentlemen. It was added at the beginning. It's the appointment of a representative to the North Central Florida Regional Planning Council. I believe all of the experienced commissioners up here have served their time on that one. Not to put anyone on the spot, but would we?
I'm in the mood to approve Commissioner Clark for this.
A motion for Commissioner Clark. That was really unexpected. I have a second from Commissioner Farnsworth for Commissioner Clark as our representative to the prestigious North Central Florida Regional Planning Council. Do I hear any motions for any other commissioners?
The fish is good.
And the fried chicken. I enjoyed the fried chicken.
The fish is good.
We appreciate you. Okay. I have a motion to appoint Commissioner Clark by Commissioner Coleman, properly seconded by Commissioner Farnsworth. Any further questions, comments from the dais? Rich, I know we have to take a vote here, but this doesn't seem like a public comment kind of vote.
You're correct, Mr. Mayor. There's no need for public comment on this.
Thank you, sir. It's just done. We don't even have to take a vote. I like it. He's accepted it. We appreciate you, Commissioner Clark. That takes us on a budget night to comments at 9 o'clock. Well done, staff. Well done, commission. We appreciate you all getting us through what is normally a lengthy evening. And we'll begin tonight's comments with the manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As per usual, I'll have about 25 minutes worth of comments. So no chance of getting out early tonight. Actually, I'll be brief. I want to remind the commission and the public that new commissioner orientation, another invigorating opportunity for newly elected officials. It's happening tomorrow. That's September the 15th, 2 p.m. here at City Hall. Staff will be presenting to Commissioner Clark and anyone else 2 p.m. Our RSVPs were for people that could make it during the day. Thought we'd save some overtime. And the city attorney is going to be attending via Zoom, so we're helping them out as well. We will have some nice refreshments though.
Hang on one second, Mike. Commissioner Coleman.
Will that go towards his ethics that he's going to have?
Mr. Mayor, it's my understanding that it will not, but we may have, it probably wouldn't go towards ethics, but it may go to CEUs if we can get our class accredited. That's something staff can look into, because we do go through the basics of how local government operates. Maybe there's some long shot chance that we could get it accredited and help the elected officials out with their CEU requirements. Mr. Mayor, the other thing that just wanted to keep the commission apprised of is, as you know, we're in conflict resolution with Alachua County related to 5 annexations that we approved that they have challenged. So we are, I'd say we're a little better than halfway through. City attorney has, and our planning staff have really grabbed this one. City attorney in particular is shining during our negotiating sessions with the county managers and her team, and we'll keep you posted. At some point, this should look like an interlocal agreement that will come before both boards for consideration and hopefully authorization. Mr. Mayor, that concludes my comments.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. I'm sad to miss the new commissioner orientation. First one I've missed in about 4 or 5 years. But it's a great opportunity. It is lengthy, but it's a great chance to see everybody's face, see all the pictures, get a kind of a rundown. And I'm sure they will lead you through. Mr. Attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And just to clarify the record, I appreciate Manager New's comments about the city attorney shining in the conflict resolution process. That clearly is directed towards Scott Walker, not so much Rich Maltby. He's been much more active in that whole process. So I will pass that along to him. I appreciate that. I do want to report a couple meetings back. I think it was our August 24th meeting. We had a resolution that the commission entertained opposing the Alachua County proposed charter amendment establishing the a county growth management area. And that resolution passed. And our city staff here reached out to some of our other municipal clients that we represent with respect to that resolution. At this point, the city of High Springs has passed a similar resolution. The town of Micanopy has as well, and the city of Archer has that on their agenda tonight. I don't know the outcome of that, but I know that they will be addressing that tonight. So I just want to report back to the city on the impact that I think that the resolution in Newberry has had with some of the other fellow municipalities. And I cannot hear the mayor right now.
My mic's on. Oh,
okay.
Okay, I'm back. I was thanking you for that update, and I was in the middle of asking you to continue keeping us up to date on that item in particular.
Sure.
Thank you, sir. Madam Clerk.
I don't have anything, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. That takes us to the commission. Commissioner Coleman.
I only got one thing. My deepest condolences to Commissioner Farnsworth. I hear that the rambling wreck of Georgia Tech pulled into Tallahassee and wrecked everything there. Thank you.
I feel like we're going into a good decade.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah. Commissioner Clark.
Just proud to be here.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate that. Commissioner Farnsworth. Commissioner Martin.
Hey, I'm proud to be here.
Commissioner Norfleet. I just have a couple of things. One, I wanted to recognize our clerk. She was recently, I'm going to look at this up so I get it right, but she was recently appointed to the Florida League of Cities Utilities, Natural Resources, and Public Works Legislative Policy Committee. And I believe this is a repeat appointment for her. So thank you once again for representing the city of Newberry well and for going above and beyond to make us shine. So we appreciate you, Madam Clerk. This Thursday, I sent you guys an invitation to a ribbon cutting. It's actually a really exciting business. It's perfectly aligned with our ag tech research policies. They're going to be opening, I believe it's their second location here in our city. So they've invited you each and city staff to attend that ribbon cutting and then attend a social gathering at Woodyard directly after. It's this Thursday at 4. So hopefully you guys can attend and be there. Finally, I want to, I'll send you the address. Mike, do you remember the name of it? It's like an acronym. It's a soil research. He'll pull it up here in a second for me. While he's pulling that up, I want to congratulate all of Newberry sports that are up and running, off and running. It was an open question whether we'd be allowed to have our seasons this year. We've started. All of the sports are having senior night on the very first home game, just in case we get shut down. So I want to give a special congratulations to our football team who's played 2 games. They're both hard fought. They were able to pull it out and win against Trenton. While it was a very exciting game against Hawthorne, we just barely lost there in the end. And so I want to congratulate Mayor Surrency over there in the city of Hawthorne. And as my shirt says, go, and I can't read the rest, but I am wearing it. But, you know, it's hard for me to read upside down. But I do want to congratulate Hawthorne and all of the Panther sports. I'm sure that we will see them again in the playoffs and probably have a different outcome, hopefully. I think Mayor Surrency would look really good in blue and gold. Okay, that does it for me tonight. Oh, we have the name of the, go ahead, Mike. Is your mic on?
It is. Mr. Mayor, the new business that's open in town, it's actually a new building for them. It's AOTC. They do environmental exploration type work. They've done some assessment work for us as related to asbestos, both at the fire department and at the Berry building. So that is, as you said, it's the 17th at 4 p.m. That's a Thursday. The location is 25207 Northwest 8th Lane in Newberry. I'll make sure Amy gets an invitation out with the street address in it so that it's on all your calendars, and hopefully you can attend.
They're behind the floor store to the right, and we had passed their planned expansion that's going to kind of cut through the middle behind that scuba shop where Bouncing Big used to be.
Very excited. They're very eager to meet everybody, see everybody, and invite you in and show you around. Okay, that wraps up my comments. Citizen comments. Anybody in the chamber wish to address the commission? Okay, hearing no citizen comments from the chamber. Ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of the evening. We're at citizen comments. You have 5 minutes to address the commission on any item. Doesn't have to be on the agenda. Anything you would like to talk to them about, anything you'd like them to consider, now's the perfect time to do so. All you need to do is dial the phone number on your screen. That will get you into the meeting. Once you're in the meeting, look at the bottom of your screen. You'll see a little hand symbol. All you need to do is click that hand symbol, and that will let us know that you'd like to address the commission with a question or a comment. We'll make sure you have the opportunity to do so. Dallas, does anyone have their hand up?
Yes, sir.
Okay, hearing no public comment, we are